It's Friday here in New Jersey.
Sure is.
It's a beautiful day, and we are headed to Elizabeth, New Jersey, where we're going to
the New York City Relief Bus.
Yes, we're going to serve the homeless, do some interviews, talk to the staff and volunteers. We're going to see how God is on the move.
Yes, we are.
Elizabeth, New Jersey, here we come. It's starting to sprinkle. We made it. We're at the relief bus. Bus number 2. This is where they open it up and serve the soup and drinks. Ready, Pat?
Yep. Like the questions, do you like me better than Andrea? You don't have to answer those. What are you doing?
Hello. This is the kitchen.
And we are live.
Here. It's a sorority squad.
That's how it works. No, it looks like a cheerleader squad, and I'm not on a cheerleader team.
Sorority squad. All right.
So we're here with Brett Hartford at the New York City Relief, which was formerly called the Relief Bus, which is still in the back of my mind. It's an amazing organization that Brett's going to tell us all about. So let me ask you some questions. So Brett, can you tell us what New York City Relief is and how it provides help and who it provides help to?
We're a mobile outreach to those in need. That can be the homeless, those who are poor, those who are jobless. Basically, whoever would be in need and walking by, we want to make sure we see them and care for them, provide emergency resources, to provide the friendship, and help people really walk through whatever their position is in life that they're at. And so sometimes we are handing out food and that's all the person needs. Sometimes we find out the person needs detox. So we sit down and have that conversation of where would be a good place for them.
How long have you been with New York City Relief, and what inspired you to take your position here?
Yeah. So I've been here going on like 6.5 years. And before this, I was working for a local church called Liquid.
Okay.
And through Liquid, they were volunteering here. And I always had a passion for people that maybe couldn't provide, or people that did not have the right answers, didn't look right, smell right. And I came out and volunteered with these guys, and I loved it. I mean, it fed all of the little things that my heart had always longed for. So it worked out. That there was a position open, and it was a perfect fit.
That's awesome. Because I can tell you, I've been here a number of occasions, and he leads so well with such a beautiful heart, and I thank you for leading us through that all. So, how has this job impacted you personally?
I thought about that, especially a lot recently. There's obviously lots of things going on. I am from Kansas originally. It is wonderful in Kansas, but it's not that diverse.
Right.
In this area of the country, it's massively diverse.
Yes.
And the diversity that I have experienced has been through conversations with people.
Right.
Seeing people who have nothing and asking them, what's that like? What are you experiencing? What do you feel? How do you think people look at you? I've just always been a person that I'm not afraid to ask questions. If you're willing to answer it, then I will ask it.
Yep.
If you say, hey, that's a bit too personal for me, then cool. But I've just never found that people are like that. Generally, people care that you actually have interest in their life. And so when you ask the question, they go for it and they answer it. And I've learned about people through people. And that has been the biggest impact on me. That as the craziest things are going, I've been able just to pare it down to, it's just your brother in front of you.
Yeah.
It's your sister in front of you. And like, I love them, and they are like literally my family. And so I get to go out on the streets and I look at everybody and I say, hey, I love you.
Yeah.
You are now family, because we're in unity together. And so that has been the greatest thing. It just helps me to see everything with clearer perspective. I don't see things as much just with the perspective I was raised in, because I've now learned story after story after story of how life for people that don't look like me or come from the same place that I'm from, life is different for different people. And so I can't just bring in and act and respond to things how I would think. I have to think about how would that person respond because they have lived life differently.
Exactly.
So I think for me, that's just the coolest thing.
So can you share some of the struggles that the homeless go through?
The first thing I would say would just be like an asterisk on that is that no story applies to everybody. And so what I can say about, well, this man that I talked to who sleeps on the streets, he experiences this and he feels this and he feels jaded by this. Another person slept on the same street his entire life, right next to each other, have completely different perspectives. And that's one of those things that we just assume. It's like, well, I met one guy and he treated me this way, and so all people that are like that are going to treat me that way.
Right.
And then we can like pigeonhole ourselves into expecting something before the conversation happens.
Yeah.
And so I've done that for a long time. I've gotten better at it now that I don't really have any expectation on the conversation because I know that everybody is so different. But I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he said, he's like, I know how it started with. He's like, I would love to help you learn what we are experiencing by you coming out and spending a weekend with me.
Wow.
He's like, I would love. He's like, I'll keep you safe. I'll make sure that we don't go too far. But he's like, I do want to take you to that line to say what it feels like when you're laying on a sidewalk and you don't have a bed and you feel the rocks going into your cheek, like just those things that are like, ugh. And I would love to. And I told him, I was like, I can't right now during this time, but I was like, for sure later on this summer, I want to join you in this. And just those little things of like what it feels like to rest your face on a sidewalk in New York City. Like most of us think, oh, I would never eat off of a sidewalk. My food falls on the ground, like, all right, that food's gone. I don't matter what it was, it's gone. It is now gone. Yeah. But imagine like that is your face, and there isn't another option. Like I eternally have other options,
right?
But there is not another option. We were talking today. There was a guy who came up and he needed a bag, like carries everything he owns in his hands. Like imagine having everything you have, and then like your plastic bag breaks, and you go to store. And you're like, hey, can I get a bag? No, it's just for customers. Okay. So you go to the next store. I just really need a bag. My bag broke, I have everything in it. And for some reason, when we get stuck up on, like, well, we can't give this thing, or this is just for this person. And so, like, those are the things that are, like, you don't think about as you think, okay, well, you don't have a house, maybe you're food insufficient, but, like, things about carrying your belongings everywhere.
Everywhere you go.
And oftentimes, we'll be having conversations with somebody, and they say, well, yeah, my stuff got stolen. And my head goes, well, don't set your stuff down, or something like that.
Right.
Just things that I would rationally think is like, well, if you don't want to get your phone stolen, then don't set your phone down. If you don't want to get your shoes stolen, keep an eye on your shoes. But what happens if you're sleeping at night and we know we got to take off our shoes, let our feet air out? Because if you don't, then you can get diseases. And then you're sleeping, and somebody comes by, sees you asleep, grabs your shoes, and walks away. And it's like, I don't have an answer to that. I mean, it's just like those are the pains that we don't think about when you're homeless and you have nowhere to go. I think oftentimes when I'm in the city and I have to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
And
I gotta go now.
Exactly. And there's times, I mean, especially right now with lots of stuff shut down. And even, I mean, for me, as somebody who if the requirement was, hey, we need you to purchase something, cool, I will do whatever I need to do because I have to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
But what if you can't afford to purchase something? And we're finding that with stuff right now, everything's closed.
Right.
Like, I can't go purchase it. I don't even have the option. I can't flash a badge. I can't pay money. Like, there's just nothing open.
Yeah.
And so that makes me just kind of set back into that feeling of, this is a glimmer, like not even near what people feel, but this is a glimmer of what people feel of, what do you have to go to the bathroom? You don't have anywhere to go. If you go outside, you're going to get arrested.
Yeah.
And it's just not a good option.
So how have you seen God work through the New York City Relief?
The most beautiful thing about this is I'll go back to assumptions. I assume that those that are on the street are going to be impoverished and greedy and all of those bad fruits that they talk about that that would come with my perspective of somebody who has nothing. If you have nothing, then if you have an opportunity to get something, you're going to take it and take it and take it. The actual alternative is what we find on the streets, because when you have nothing and God provides a glimmer of something, that's a miracle.
Yes.
For me, a miracle would look like me winning the lottery.
Right.
I'm like, oh God, man, look how good God is. He provided $1 million. When on the streets, if you go up to somebody and hand them a cup of water, and they're like, oh, I didn't know where I was going to get a drink at.
Yeah.
Just that alternative perspective is way out of whack for most of us. And those are the most beautiful things of what God does on the streets, is that we are serving people, but we are being changed by Jesus, because when we serve the least of these, we serve Jesus.
Yeah.
And the perspective of Jesus is so simple.
Yeah.
We make it so complicated, but it's very simple. Come to me who are weary, and I will give you rest. So our friends who are weary, they come, and God gives them rest. Even though they're on the streets.
Right.
Even though they have nothing, God provides everything. Like, hey, I woke up today. Like, cool, I don't even think about it. It's like, yeah, well, that's what you do. Like, but when you're on the streets and your life expectancy is 20 years less than everybody else, when you wake up, it's like, cool, I got another day. And so, again, those are the cool things. Just seeing people praise God for the things that I forget to praise God for. I mean, again, I've been here for 6.5 years, and my prayer from the start is that I won't stop crying. Because I fear so much that there will be, at some point, my heart will become hardened to the stuff of the streets, that I will forget that it's beautiful. And so just for instance, last week I had one of these moments where I think it was the hardest I've ever cried. I even texted my wife. I sat at home for an hour after I got home, just in the car sobbing. I was like, hey, I'm here. It was after a night outreach on Friday night at Newark, and I was like, I'm here, but I'm just crying, and I need some time to process this. And there was a gentleman who he'd been on the streets for 60 years. I walked over to him. He was laying on the sidewalk of Newark, head on the ground. I was like, I don't know what to do, but let me just go and say hi and see what we can do. He has a skin and flesh-eating disease, and he was missing most of his fingers. His feet were like nubs, and he was wearing these hospital socks. And I said, when's the last time you were at the hospital? He's like, oh, here's my, you have 2 hospital bracelets on. But it was over a month ago. So he'd been having the same hospital socks on for a month. And I was like, hey, I've got socks. Can I give you a pair of socks? Yeah. He's like, yeah, absolutely. And we gave it to him, and they just sat there. And I came back later on in the night, and I was like, hey, can I help you put those socks on? And there's always something that hurts even more when you go from this to this. That physical touch aspect just wrecks me. And it takes a relationship to a deeper level. And so I took off his hospital socks, put on the new Bombas socks for him, and he said thank you, and we sat and talked and found out that he had a traumatic brain injury 60 years ago when he was 12. Wow. And he's been homeless ever since. Family basically couldn't handle it. Everybody else in society hasn't been able to figure him out, and he's now been on the streets for 60 years. And then the part that hurt me is I reached out to friends, I reached out to some organizations. Everyone's busy right now because of stuff going on. There's not any shelters available. There's not any whatever. So I had to leave, and he was still on the sidewalk. And then I'm driving home, and it starts to rain, and I'm like, I'm going home to my house, and you can sit on the sidewalk. And that's the stuff that just continues. The hope is that cast your cares on Jesus, and He cares for you. Don't worry about tomorrow. It has enough worries. Right now, God will provide. And I have to, again, as much as I have to provide on that for myself, I have to rely on casting my cares on God for my friends, because I can't fix it all. I wish I could. I can't. There's not an amount of money that can fix every need that is out on the streets. And so Jesus has to provide. He has to show up. And I have to rely trust that He actually will. Yes. because I would not be here anymore if I didn't believe that.
Right.
Because the needs are so great and people are hurting so much that if I continue to absorb that, I would either go crazy or I would have a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Or I would just become so numb to the fact that it's impossible. Why even try?
Right.
And so again, my where I sit on this is that the only way that this continue to happen is that I serve and I care and I love and I meet people where they are and I do everything I can and everything I can and everything I can. But then I trust that God actually loves this person.
Yes.
And He used me for that moment, and He's going to send somebody else.
We're in the kitchen.
Alright guys, we're gonna use we are ready, we're gonna wait right here and I'm come out. We're gonna use spray, do the bottle crush. Both of them? Yeah.
I'm trying to think, is that like borderline like Cherry Hill past that? No, we're Morristown. Okay.
We have the people checking in. We're at the drink station. Sanitizer station.
Hey, how are you, man?
Serving soup.
My name is Pat.
Food. And donations. How's it going in there?
Going good.
All right. Andrew, what are we doing?
Hey guys, what's up? We're here at the Relief Bus. We are giving out hygiene kits to people that are coming over, and they're also giving out lemonade and fruit punch and water and soup and bread.
Andrew, how long have you been volunteering at New York City Relief?
I've been volunteering for about 5 years now for New York City Relief, since about 2015.
And where do you see God working in all of this?
I see God working a lot at the Relief Bus, just not only in the people that I serve, but also in my own heart. I feel like God really is making a change and making me more compassionate towards people and more focused on other people and not just myself. So this is an amazing ministry.
That's awesome. Thank you.
We're serving the homeless.
We're walking under the Newark Penn Station.
Good?
There are over 63,000 people in New York City shelters, and that doesn't count those that are living on the streets and in subways. These things we do that others may live is the Relief Bus motto. Would you consider volunteering? And we urge you all to volunteer at the New York City Relief Bus.
That's right. New York City Relief, nyrelief.org.